time, isn't it? All those wonderful costumes and masks and makeup. I think about how much fun Halloween is. I also worry.
Little Johnny had been warned never to go trick-or-treating at any house he didn't know, but he didn't listen. Instead, he convinces his friends to go get candy from this one weird house. Later that night, as they're all digging through their loot, there's this scream. All the kids are rushed to the hospital, but it's too late. Johnny's dead from eating candy laced with poison, and all the other kids had their mouths ripped open from swallowing razor blades and glass. They never did catch the person who did it. Turns out, Halloween really comes from the ancient customs of druids, collecting kids for sacrifices. And apparently, these murders were committed by those who still carry on that evil tradition. Welcome to Back Away Slowly. You're listening to episode 2 of our Urban Legends season. There are so many urban legends that I could choose for this season that I really debated if I should spend an episode covering today's topic. It feels like everyone else has mentioned it or told the main tragic story that's inseparable from it. However, as I looked into other urban legends, I found that this story was brought up over and over and over again. And the general fears expressed by this legend are ones that are impossible to disentangle from other urban legends. I think I've done enough research to hopefully bring some interesting information to the table that hasn't been said a million times.
It's a nice and scary time, isn't it? All those wonderful costumes and masks and makeup. I think about how much fun Halloween is. I also worry a little bit about the things that can spoil the fun of Halloween. Those kinds of things scare me too, but in a different way.
The short story in the beginning of the episode is an excerpt from the documentary Killer Legends. It's a very simple story, but one competing for elbow room with dozens of similar iterations, all repeating the same fear. All over the country, countless anonymous, horrible people eagerly await Halloween. On this night, they'll have the opportunity to stuff any number of harmful things into colorful candies given away to eager children. This fear became so great in the 1970s that it created a name for this deviant: the Halloween sadist. Headlines and newspapers clambered over each other in their eagerness to terrify parents. In 1979, the New York Times wrote, quote, "That plump red apple that Junior gets from a kindly old woman down the block may have a razor blade hidden inside." Or how about this quote from Newsweek 5 years later, quote, "If this year's Halloween follows form, a few children will return home with something more than an upset tummy. In recent years, several children have died, and hundreds have narrowly escaped injury from razor blades, sewing needles, and shards of glass purposefully put into their goodies by adults." And dear God, if that's true, if several children have died almost every year since 1970, why aren't we talking about this more? But even at a cursory glance, you can see gaping holes in these claims. Hell, I can't even remember the last time anyone was handing out apples at Halloween, much less one with a razor blade hidden inside. Come to think of it, handing out an apple with a weapon inside in the 2020s would probably be one of the dumbest things you could do if you want to get away with hurting children. You'd be memorable because you were handing out apples instead of candy. Folklorist Brunvand tosses around the idea that the apple may have remained a common linchpin in this story because of its place in biblical history. After all, the apple was the forbidden fruit eaten by Eve, resulting in the casting out of man from the Garden of Eden. Though for now, I'll just skate past the fact that the Bible doesn't specify what fruit is on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The fruit might not have been an apple at all, but maybe a pomegranate, a fig, or even grapes. But we get his point. The apple has a long perception in the public consciousness as relating to indulgence and the forbidden. If that's the case, does that mean that the child or consumer of the apple deserves the proverbial sting in the tail that the razor blade provides? I'm not sure, but it's definitely something to consider. However, Brunvand isn't completely sold on his first theory. He also suggests that apples are used as the vehicle of danger in the story simply because apples are in season during the autumn holiday. This makes a lot of practical sense to me. Apples are simply available. The villain of these stories are always insane child haters, thought to have had a deprived or even abusive childhood. From this dark past has grown an adult, now, quote, frustrated and filled with resentment against the world in general. But that's a lot of conjecture, so let's take a closer look at one of the most frequent threats of our childhoods: deadly Halloween treats. Folklorist and professor Heather Joseph Witham kindly explains the origins of Halloween as we know it. The earliest signs of a potential Halloween sadist came from a rumor in the